Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday morning as we are studying together Perashat Ki Tetze. Our parasha, believe it or not, is the only parasha that discusses the idea of divorce. Okay, and let us discuss today not only divorce but also marriage, and hopefully we'll come out with a nice idea and lesson on how to strengthen and create more meaningful marriages and relationships. Chapter 24, okay, and those that are doing the Daf Yomi, this is especially going to be familiar because the first pages of the Masechet that we're learning is Masechet Kiddushin right now in the Daf Yomi cycle, and it deals all about how one gets married, with what forms of marriage, and as well the last cycle, the last Masechet we did was Masechet Gitin, the Masechet that deals with divorce, okay? So last Masechet was Gitin, this one is Kiddushin, divorce and then marriage. My Rebbe asked, why is divorce before marriage? Shouldn't it be marriage and then the divorce? And he said, because you have to know how to get out before you get in. Okay, so here we go. Chapter 24. Ki yikach ish isha, if a man will take a woman, uba'ala, and then have relations with her. Vehaya, and it will be imlo timsa hen be'enav, if he doesn't find favor, if she fails to please him. Ki matza ba'ervat davar, he finds something obnoxious. Vechatav la sefer keritut, he will write for her a bill of divorce. Venatan beyada, he has to hand it into her hands. Veshilicha mebeto, and send her away. Okay, so here is one pasuk, and it talks about not only divorce, but it also speaks about, in the first half, about marriage. If a man marries a lady and he doesn't like her, he has to hand her a divorce bill, okay? And this is also a mitzvah to divorce your wife. Unfortunately today, there are get refusers. There are people who refuse to hand their wife a divorce, and they leave the wife, what we call an aguna, stuck. She's stuck because she can't get remarried without a divorce bill. And he's not so stuck because, halachically speaking, a man could have multiple wives. So they run away and they leave their wives barren and abandoned. And it's a very sad thing. And over here, the Torah says that if you don't get along, that's okay. Move on. Try to keep it as peaceful as possible. You go your way, she goes her way, and just give her a get and move on. And what happens if she leaves his house? She goes one day, she leaves the house, and she goes and she marries another guy. And then the latter guy also doesn't like her. He also gives her a divorce bill. Right? Or if the second guy dies, and now she's alone. Bottom line, she married guy A, he's dead, he's gone, he divorces her. She marries guy B, and then guy B is dead or divorces her. Says the pasuk, Lo yuchal ba'alah harishon, the first husband, the first one who married her, that divorced her the first time around, he cannot, lekachta, take her, liod lo leisha, okay? He cannot take her and remarry her, okay? That's interesting halakha, but bottom line, this is just a couple of psukim that deal with this topic and this idea of divorce, okay? Fine. Now right away, interesting to note, is the word, the very, 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 very difficult word in the beginning of the pasuk, ki yikach ish isha ub'ala. If a man takes a woman and he sleeps with her, okay? Now, that is not such a clean way of talking. You know, doesn't matter that he slept with her, he didn't sleep with her. Just if a man marries a lady and he doesn't like her, then he should get divorced. What does it matter that he slept with her? Why does it have to write it? I mean, everyone knows what a husband and wife do in a bedroom. What did it have to mention that they slept with each other? Why is that appropriate? Why is that relevant? Right? Why is that necessary over here? We know, by the way, the Torah in general is very clean in talking. I'll give you an example. Go back to Perashat Noach. Remember Noach? Remember Noach or no? Noach was a good guy, and he was the only good guy. So God decided to destroy the world. He told Noach to go onto an ark and to restart. So he goes onto the ship and he brings with him animals. How many animals does he bring? So depends. If it's an animal that's kosher, bring 7 of each. species. 7 male, 7 female, 7 of each gender. If it's not kosher, 2. Okay, 1 and 1. Okay, so this is Noach. How do you say kosher or not kosher? How do you say pure and impure? Tahor and tameh. But what's very interesting, if you open Parashat Noach, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say tahor and tameh. It says tahor and, anyone know? Not tahor. Very interesting way of saying. Take a tahor and also take the one that's not tahor. Right? Why is Torah talking like that? Torah is usually very concise. Torah doesn't waste words. If you could have written one word instead of 2, then you should have done so, right? Reminds me of the famous story Rabbi Beryl Wine says over of a rabbi that he, gets up on Kal Nidre Yom Leil Kippur, the holiest night of the year, that every Jew walks into synagogue, whether they are affiliated or not. Every Jew comes on the night of Kippur to pray, right? Everyone comes once a year to pray. So this rabbi is sitting there, and as a rabbi, I have to also be honest. It's the biggest night of the year for me, and all year round, I'm really thinking about, in the back of my mind somewhere, subconsciously maybe, about Yom Kippur and what speech. Anytime I find something that's super powerful that I think could be used on Yom Kippur, I do. I put it in the back of my mind, I save it, and Yom Kippur time comes, I know I have to pull out my best goods as a rabbi, my job to inspire the people, to move them to a place that they could find within themselves that little spark that we all have. So Yom Kippur is very powerful. Anyways, the joke is about this guy. He gets up Yom Kippur, the rabbi. He gets up Yom Kippur night and he's giving the speech for 10 minutes long. And of course, in the crowd is this a fellow who works in a broadcasting station. And after he hears the rabbi's speech, after the services, everyone comes to the front to shake the rabbi's hand and to wish him a Chag Sameach. Yes, don't forget, Yom Kippur is a holiday. It's a very special day. Yom Kippur is the happiest day of the year. So this man comes and he introduces himself and says, Rabbi, I work for a broadcasting station, and I was just thinking as I was listening to your speech, 10 minutes is a bit long. Would you be able to say the same thing in 3 minutes? And the rabbi starts thinking and daydreaming and, wow, here I'm going to get 3 minutes to deliver to the whole world a message. And he starts getting ahead of himself and he starts, thinking about the potential and what he could achieve in 3 minutes and reach out to the whole America. And he thinks, and of course he says, yes, I think I can. And he looks at the rabbi and says, so then why didn't you? If you could give it in 3 minutes, why didn't you? Right? Okay. So here we have a pasuk, and instead of writing tahor and tameh, it says tahor and not tahor. And of course, Rashi right away over there in Parashat Noach says, you know why? Because the Torah tries to speak in a clean way. We speak in a clean way. We don't want to say unclean things if unnecessary. Okay? So if that's the case, my friends, if we don't want to say unclean things, what's going on over here? If a man is with a lady, and what does it matter what they did after? You don't have to say it. Right? So Rabbeinu Bachya over here says, what does it mean over here? Ki yikach ish isha u'be'ala. What does the word u'be'ala mean? What does mean? What does it mean to live with her? Vav sometimes means and. Sometimes vav means or. Okay? So really, he says you should read it. If a man marries a lady or lives with her. What does that mean, or lives with her? So he says, Shnei dvarim hem. The Torah over here is listing 2 out of the 3 ways that a man could betroth a lady. Masechet Kiddushin, page 1, right? Ha'isha, a lady, can be, ha'isha niknet, b'shalosh derachim. The Mishnah says a lady is acquired in 3 ways. Kesef, shtar, and biyah. A lady can be acquired either with something of value, like money, or shtar, a contract, or biyah, which is living together, right? Intimacy. And over here, the pasuk is listing the first 2. Ki yikach ish, with money, he'll explain in a second, or be'ala, or he lived with her, yeah? And he explains, kiddushay kesef. How do I know that you could acquire with a coin? Now today, which form out of these 3 do we use? When a man betroths a lady, we only use the money form, right? Under the chuppah, maybe if you've been to a wedding, you know, a man takes a ring or a coin And he says, Hare'at mekudeshet li, will you be sanctified unto me? Betaba'at zo, with this ring, kedat Moshe ve'Yisrael, according to the laws of Moshe in Israel. And he hands her the ring or the coin, right, depending on what he's using. So today we only do the first form. Ha'isha niknet be'shalosh derachim. A lady is acquired in one of three ways. Kesef. How do we know money works? Because it says ki yikach. Yikach means to buy. And kicha only is with money. Like we find by Avraham, when he bought the field when his wife died. Remember? Kesef hasadeh kach mimeni. So the word kach means with money. Okay. And Pasuk says money and it says intimacy. There's also a third way, which we said was with a bill, with a contract. How do we know contract works? He says, because the end of the Pasuk, it says that she should leave his house, ve'yetza'a mebeto, and she goes and she gets married to someone else. Ve'halecha ve'hayeta. So it compares the leaving and going to someone else. How does she leave him? She only could leave him with a divorce bill. How do you divorce a lady? The Gemara discusses, how do you divorce a lady? You only could divorce with a get. You can't divorce by giving her money. You can't divorce with intimacy. Only to bring her into your life are you allowed to do those two. But to leave, the Pasuk is explicit. Sefer keritut. You have to give her a bill of divorcement. A sefer, something that divorces you from her. But to bring her in, there's three ways. Kicha, money, bi'ah, intimacy, or also a bill. How do I know that a bill works? Because it says, ve'yatse'a ve'halecha. Leave your house and go into his. The same way she could leave your house with a bill, she could go into his with a bill. So here we have, says Rabbeinu Bachye, three different forms of marriage, and they're all alluded to in the Pasuk. Yikach, uba'ala, and ve'yatse'a, the next Pasuk, ve'hayeta. Okay? This is very, very interesting. That's the Rabbeinu Bachye's answer as to why the Pasuk decides to write something a little bit vulgar, a little bit not so clean, because it's telling you about the halacha. This is how she gets married. She gets married through, these are one of the three forms. Again, like I said today, we don't do we don't do the last two. Today, we only use the method of money. Okay? This is the stage, by the way, of kiddushin. Kiddushin, this is stage one of a marriage. Step two is what we call nisuin, which is marriage. So there's engagement and marriage. Engagement is taking a ring, putting it on her finger, and then marriage is bringing her into your chuppah, into your house, under your shirt, under a roof. We do all forms today, right? That's why today we take the talit and you put it over both of them, and that's why today we have a canopy, and that's why afterwards they go into the yichud room. All of that is to finalize the marriage and the stage of nisuin. Okay? But either way, this is answer number one of when a man takes a woman, and it's telling us that there are three different ways of taking a lady. Okay? Three different ways of getting engaged. This is the answer according to Rabbeinu Bachya. But there is another answer, my friends, more, I think, giving us a lesson on how to really avoid divorce. Because at the end of the day, it's something that is written. It's sometimes something that happens. It's sometimes needed. It's sometimes called for that a couple should get divorced, especially if it's a dysfunctional home and marriage and it's an abusive relationship. Then definitely sometimes divorce is warranted. But the truth is, divorce is only a last resort. And divorce is only something that should be used and done if it's a must and if all other options were exhausted. But for a couple to get divorced, especially in today's day and age, where divorce rates, including second marriages, are over 50%, that means that if you're getting married, if you're walking down the aisle, there's a more likelihood that this is not going to work than is going to work. Okay, now the truth is in the Jewish community, thank God, the percentages are a little bit less. But still today, the idea of divorce became such a common thing, such a for granted thing. You know, forget 500 years ago, 50 years ago. People didn't get divorced. Jewish, not Jewish, this wasn't a thing. And what exactly is the reason that all of a sudden, there's such a rise in divorce? And the truth is again, there are many reasons. But the Pasuk over here is giving us one very important reason. And that is that when we enter a marriage, and my friends, please remember this, because it's such a powerful and important idea. When we get married, it's important that the couple ask themselves, why are we getting married? Why am I with this person? And most of the time in life, unfortunately today especially, the relationships that we choose, the people that we choose to be friends with, the people that we choose to marry, the love that we have, the love is really something that's a very selfish type of love. When we love people today, think about your friends. Why are you friends with someone today? A lot of the friends that we have is because there's something that I'm going to benefit, there's something that I'm going to gain from this person. Here's someone with a lot of money, they own a house, they have a private plane, they could give me certain things, right? So the people that we choose to be friends with, the question that we usually ask ourselves is, wait, is there anything that I could gain from this person? If yes, then I'll be their friend. And if not, then I'll see you later, right? I don't need you if you're not going to give me something. It's a very sad way. That's a relationship that's not only selfish, but let me tell you the Mishnah. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot that certain loves in life will last, certain loves won't last. Certain relationships will last, certain relationships won't last. The Mishnah reads, Kol ahava, any love that's teluya badavar, any love that's talui, that's dependent on something physical, batel hadavar, batel ahava. The moment that thing is gone, the love is gone. If the reason you entered a marriage was because of something physical, then you need to know that that physical thing, whether it's money or looks, that's not going to be forever. And the moment that that is gone, the love will fade. And if the love is based on something that's not physical, ena teluya badavar, then you need to know that marriage, that love is going to last, because it's not physical. It's on something that's a value. It's on something that's spiritual. Values, spirituality are eternal. Your love will be eternal. Ask yourself, what is your love built on? What is it founded upon? If it's founded upon something strong, something that's eternal, then your love will be eternal. When a couple gets married, when a guy marries a girl for her looks, you need to remember that she will not always maybe look like that. One day, she will stop looking like that. Whether it's pregnancy or age, one day you'll have maybe a secretary or somebody else who will look different, who will look prettier. A lady needs to know when she marries a guy, why are you marrying this guy? Is it because he has maybe a lot of money? Is it because maybe he's Joe Cool? Is it because maybe popularity? You need to remember that a guy is not going to always have the money. Maybe there's going to be another guy out there that'll give you maybe more compliments. Or maybe there's going to be somebody who has more money. Or maybe he's going to lose his hair and he's not going to be so cool anymore. What is the reason of your marriage? If it's ahava sheteluya badavar, if it's a love that's built on something physical, that's not going to last. It can't last. Because the moment the physical thing is gone, then the love is gone. If my friendship, if I like you because of something physical that you could give me, if I'm your friend because you're funny, if I'm your friend because we're in high school, and in high school I need someone to play tennis with, so you're my friend. But that's the extent of our relationship, of our friendship. Then the moment I no longer care about tennis, the no longer you know how to play tennis, the no longer I care about whatever it is, then our friendship fades. It evaporates, it dissipates. It's gone. Because it was built on something that's temporary. What a powerful lesson when it comes to a marriage. Think about husband and wife. Think about two people meeting and getting married. Imagine they could know this. Imagine the world was able to know that if your marriage is built on something physical, then just know that your relationship is temporary. Just know that. And that's really what happens. You have people in the world. I mean, they have everything. You're talking about celebrities. They have money, they have fame, they have everything you could want. And they can't hold a marriage. I mean, they can't hold a marriage for more than a month. I mean, they get married and you're expecting, okay, let's see how long it'll last. You're taking bets on if it's going to be a week or a month or a year. Someone tells you they're married, you ask what number today. I mean, it's a crazy thing. And the reason is because the world today has failed us. They've failed the youth. They've failed the future generation. They haven't given them the tools. Today, it's a very selfish world that we live in, that we're growing up in. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs observes that when you used to take a picture, it used to be that the photo that you took was of other people. You would look out into the world and you would take a picture of the world that you looked into. Today, the pictures that we take are selfies. Today, the pictures that we take are of ourselves. Today, we're no longer looking out of windows. Today, we're looking into mirrors. And today, when we look into a piece of glass, all we see is ourselves. And every decision we make, everything in life is all about me. Rabbi Twersky points out that when a couple gets married, we know out of Shema Brachot, we say 7 blessings, right? And these 7 blessings are really there to guide the couple, to guide the Khatan and the Kala, to give them the best lessons of marriage. And each blessing is another powerful lesson. And really, usually, I don't know if you ever had a wedding, usually we don't pay attention to the meaning of the words. We just listen to the voice of the Chazan, if it's a nice voice. And especially if you're being called up to say the bracha, then you're for sure not paying attention because you're just nervous and you want to get the words out without anyone judging you and without looking like a fool, right? But if you pay attention to the words, there really in each word is a magnificent lesson for marriage, right? Yotzer, right? Yotzer ha'adam, created man was one, and now they're two, and now they're one again. Mesameach tesamach, make us happy, the same way you made Adam and Chava happy, right? My friend told me, you know why Adam was so happy in Gan Eden? Because he didn't have a mother-in-law. Right? Okay. So, there's one blessing that doesn't have anything to do with marriage. Think of the brachot that we say under the chuppah. One of them has nothing to do with marriage. You know which one? Shehakol bara lichvodo. Everything was created for His honor. What? What does that have to do with anything? Why is that relevant at a wedding? It's not about Hashem right now. It's about me and you. Give us marriage tips. Give us advice for dating. And you know what Rabbi Twersky says? We are. You want advice? Remember that you're not in this for you. And the moment you make it about you, the moment you're getting married for you, your marriage is temporary. Ultimately, when we get married, our marriage has to be Shehakol bara lichvodo. We are here for God. We are here to build His world. We are here to build a family for Him. And so long that we keep that in mind, no matter what we're going through in our marriage, when we have the same goal, and our goal is Hashem, and to build a family, and to bring up children in this world that are going to be a Kiddush Hashem, and build God's name, so long that we could remember that as a husband and wife, that it's always about Him. We are going in the same direction. Rabbi Twersky brings a great example, and he has a great book, by the way, if you're looking for a good marriage book, called The First Year of Marriage. He brings a nice example. Remember in the airports, maybe you've been in an airport recently, they have that moving sidewalk, yeah, that moving straight escalator, right? It's not an escalator, it's a straight sidewalk that moves. So he says one time he was on the escalator, on this sidewalk moving, and he noticed in front of him there was a pilot also waiting, and on the other side, coming the other way, there was another pilot, captain. And they started seeing each other, so they started talking. And they started talking, but what happened after a few seconds is that they were too far apart to hear each other. And he observes and learns over here a beautiful lesson that in life, if you want to be able to hear someone, what was the problem here? The problem wasn't communication. The problem was that they were going in different directions. Right? In life, very important, right? That we're going in the same direction as our spouse. What are your core values? What are their core values? What are you looking to build over here? If your goal in this marriage is just looks, if your goal in the marriage is money, if it's teluya badavar, then you should guarantee, no, you may stay married, but it's not going to be a beautiful marriage. It's not going to be a harmonious marriage. It's not going to be blissful. It's going to be filled with blisters. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be miserable. You may not get divorced, but that's not going to be a home that's going to be built on anything that's powerful, right? And that's what the pasuk is saying. Ki yikach ish isha, when a man marries a lady and they end up getting divorced, the pasuk has one word. You know why they got divorced? Because you know why he got married? Uba'ala. Because he got married for the sake of bi'ah, for the sake of intimacy, for the sake of being with her. If that's the reason you're getting married, if it's uba'ala, if it's for the sake of intercourse, then know that the result will be v'chatav la sefer keritut. Because this is not a marriage that was built on something that's real. It was built on looks, especially with today's world, that the looks are all fake anyways. So even the looks are not her. Forget it's not real. Forget it's not going to last. It's not even today, right? Today, people on these dating apps, people tell me, you don't understand, Rabbi. You see a picture of this person, and the whole thing is so fake and edited. You go out, you look at a picture, you see she's pretty, or he's pretty. You go on the date, you agree to go on a date, and you pretty much walk into a room and there's this other person that you never met before. They're not even at all related to the picture. Nothing resemblance at all. It's like literally a blind date today. The whole thing is just edited. So when you're marrying, it's all a show. That's why it's so important that the love that we have, the relationships that we develop, are real, they're deep, they're genuine. This content. You know, one of the first times it says love in the Torah, anyone know? One of the first times, not the first time, right? The first time is, anyone know what the first time actually is? God says to Abraham, take your son, your only son, the one that you love. So the first one to love was Abraham. I mean, not the first one, but the first one that's recorded is Abraham loving his son Yitzchak. Anyone know what the second time in the Torah it says love? The first time is Abraham to Yitzchak. The second time, you guessed it, Yitzchak to Esav. Yeah? Because Yitzchak received love, he was able to give love. Because he was loved, he was able to love. The first person that was loved was the first person that gave love. Right? Because Abraham loved Yitzchak, so Yitzchak loved Yaakov. But take a look at what our rabbis point out. Vaye'ehav Yitzchak et Esav ki tzayid befiv. The pasuk says that Yitzchak loved Esav ki tzayid befiv, because he gave him hunt, he gave him game. Verivka ohevet et Yaakov, and Rivka loved Yaakov. You notice over here an inconsistency. When it comes to the love of Yitzchak for Esav, it says that he loved him because he gave him food. But when it comes to the love of Rivka and Yaakov, yeah, it says, what does it say? Didn't Adam love Eve? Yes, Adam loved Eve, but I don't think it says the word love. It doesn't say it. Okay, that's the point. Of course they loved each other, but it doesn't say it. Okay, so when it comes to Yitzchak loving his son Esav, it says why he loved him. But when it comes to Rivka and Yaakov, it doesn't say why. It just says she loved him. But the answer is because the reason Yitzchak loved Esav was because of something physical. It was teluya badavar. So therefore, it's a temporary love. It's only because of the food. Verivka ohevet et Yaakov, but her love, it doesn't need to give a reason, because the reason was spiritual. So therefore, that love will last forever. It's a love, period. She loved him, period. Yitzchak and Esav, he loved him because of the food. But that's because of. And what happens when one day he stops feeding you, maybe? So you see, one of the first times the Torah speaks about love, it makes sure to highlight and remind us as well as what is the motor, what is the engine, what is the motivation behind that love. What a powerful lesson, my friends, reminding us what it means to love. A story is that's coming to my mind of the Kotzker Rebbe, that he saw a student of his eating a piece of fish, and he said to his student, wow, you really look like you're enjoying fish. And he says, Rebbe, I love fish. And the Kotzker smiled and said, if you love fish, then why'd you kill the poor guy? If you love fish, then why'd you kill him? Why didn't you leave him in the water with his family? You don't love fish. You love you. Right? Your love is very selfish. Right? You get it? Okay? Your love is selfish love. You love the fish. You don't love the fish. You love yourself. Yeah, that's the love, unfortunately, today. The loves, the relationships of the world around us. How important to teach our children what it means to be other-centered, to be giving. When we're thinking of entering a marriage, to think it's not about me. If its focus is on me, then it's going to crumble. The focus has to be something bigger than me. It has to be Hashem. It has to be Bara L'Chvodo. It has to be the continuity of Am Yisrael. It has to be the instilling of values. It has to be growing a family. Of course, there are perks to a marriage, and there's benefits, of course. But that shouldn't be the goal of marriage. So long that the goal of marriage is me and what you can give me. And if I'm marrying you because of the things that you could give me, then what happens when those things are no longer? Then the marriage is gone. The marriage evaporates. There's nothing holding it together. This is, I think, such a powerful idea on the words Ub Allah. There's a beautiful story told about Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. Okay, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, who was one of the Gdolim in America. So the story is told that he was once at a wedding and he needed a lift back. So his student, he came, he said, he was a bachelor, he was a yeshiva bacher. He said, Rebbe, I could give you a lift back home, back to where you live. So the rabbi, what would you say if someone offered you a lift? What would you say? Many times, I'm at a wedding or I need a lift to the city or wherever. Anyone going? So someone texts me, Rabbi, I'm going. What would I say? What would you say? What would you say if someone said, I could take you? Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Let me know what time. All right? So the kid says, Rabbi, I could take you. So you know what the rabbi says? Could I first see your car? So the kid was a little puzzled, What do you want to know? Like, if I'm driving like a BMW, a 7 Series, right? If what you want to know if it's a Kia? Like, what do you want to know? Okay, you want to see the car? Come. He shows the rabbi a car. Look, it's a nice car. The rabbi says, I want to sit in the car. So he says, okay. He opens the front door. He says, no, I want to see the back seat. So the boy's really like curious now. Well, he wants to lie down. Like, what does he want already? Okay. He opens the back seat. The rabbi sits in the back seat for a few seconds. Okay, we could go in this car. So now the kid is completely confused. He says, Rabbi, what in the world was that about? So he says, well, you see, I'm going to be coming with my wife, with the Rebbitzin, and she's going to be sitting in the back, and I just wanted to make sure that before we got in the car, that the back was going to be comfortable for her, being that it was going to be a few-hour journey. This is what it means, Rabotai, to be thinking about somebody else, to be thinking of something bigger than myself. Or my friend brings over here a very, very, hard story to really relate to. But again, not that it's something that we should ever know or that we'll ever reach, but at least to know that such a concept exists. And he brings a story about Rabbi Twersky's father, Rabbi Yaakov Israel Twersky, right? Horner Stipler Rebbe of Milwaukee. 2 months before his passing, the Rebbe was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. From the Rebbe's 50 years of experience visiting sick patients, he realized that his end was near. So he summoned his son, Rabbi Dr. Twersky, to discuss his options. He said to his son, the doctor wants to give me chemotherapy. It's not going to work, is it? The son nodded in agreement. Based on his medical knowledge, his father had already suffered irreversible damage. I'm going to suffer terribly from chemotherapy, right? Rabbi Twersky nodded. It's not worthwhile to go through it. It's not going to help and I will suffer. I'm going to inform the doctors that I don't want to do the chemo. Painful as it was to confirm his father's analysis, Rabbi Twersky had to agree that it was the right move. Just then, Rebbitzin Twersky entered the room. She had been discussing her husband's case with the doctor and she came to tell her husband, I want you to have chemotherapy. When his wife left the room, the rabbi turned to his son and said, we both know that the chemo won't help. We both know that I'm going to suffer from chemo. If I don't go through it though, your mother will not forgive herself. She will always think to herself, I should have insisted on chemo. If I would have insisted, he would have lived longer. I don't want your mother to suffer such guilt, so I'm going to go through the pain of chemo, just so that mom doesn't have to feel that she didn't push me hard enough. I mean, my friends, if this is not love, then tell me what is. Be willing to go through difficult, painful therapy, knowing it's not going to work. But my spouse, I don't want her to live the rest of her life thinking, what would have, if I just would have, could have, should have. I mean, that is powerful. This is marriage, This is marriage. Asking not what can my spouse do for me, but what can I do for my spouse? And when we think of those questions, when we ask those questions, the more we think of the other. The truth is, my friends, that the word love, ahava, comes from the Hebrew word hav. Hav means lehavi, to give. The way we love is to give. The more we give, the more we love. The more we give to our spouse, the more we start loving them. Many times a student of mine will say, Rabbi, I don't know what happened. I'm married just for a couple of months and I stopped, the spark, the fire is gone. I was in love when I got engaged, but I don't know, something happened. You know what happened? What happened was we stopped giving. When we stopped giving, we stopped loving. Right? When we were engaged, we did something that worked. What did we do when we were engaged? We gave. We thought about the other person. If she wanted to go there, we went there. If she couldn't, we were accommodating. Right? Whatever the other party wanted, we bend over backwards for them. Whatever you want, I'm there. I'll be there. You need it. I'll go. We run to the store. We get them something. We're thinking of them. We're getting them gifts. And all of a sudden, we get married and everything flips. And it becomes now about giving me. And then we wonder, why is the love gone? Of course the love is gone. Your whole marriage was built on loving that other person, and then you stop doing that thing. So of course the feelings fade. So the Torah reminds us, right in the pasuk of divorce, if you're going to marry a lady and have relations, if the reason of your marriage was to live with her, then that is not going to end up in a nice way. May Hashem bless us to always have real love, real meaningful, deep relationships, that our love for religion, for people, for our spouse, should not be talui badavar, should not be in looks, should not be in physicality. Those things, they're temporary. And what happens when they go? If our love was because of those things, then those things are gone and the love is gone. But when we love someone for a much deeper reason, because there's someone here that I can build something with, there's someone here that I see eye to eye with, we have values. Values never change. Values of Torah. Hakol bara lechvodo, remembering that it's not my world. It's not about my name. It's about His name. Like every good sports movie always has. It's not about the name on the back of the jersey. It's about the name on the front of the jersey. It's about being a team player. It's about us. When it's about us and not me, from turning the me upside down to we, then B'ezrat Hashem will be able to have relationships and marriage that will be everlasting. Amen. Stop over here. Have a wonderful day. Hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.